They called it Sutton Hoo. The ship grave they called Britain's Tutankhamun. Yet the body inside had completely vanished. The acidic soil dissolved the king, leaving only the ghostly imprint of where he once lay. Come down into the trench with me. It's the summer of 1939 in a field in Suffolk, eastern England. The soil here is sandy, and it is hungry. It eats bone. It eats wood. Over 13 centuries it dissolved almost everything soft that was ever laid in it. And so, where a king should be lying in state, there is only a stain, a darker shape pressed into the pale sand, roughly the length of a man. The ground kept the shadow and let the man go. That empty outline is where our whole story begins. Because everything around it, the gold, the iron, the ship, was real and staggering and untouched. Someone was buried here like a god, and no one has ever been able to say his name for certain. No coffin, no urn, just a hollow the exact size of a life, and around it, riches beyond counting. Let the world fade in around you. This is the estate called Sutton Hoo, on a low bluff above the river Deben. Below, the tidal water slides out toward the North Sea, brown and slow. Up here, gorse and bracken cover a scatter of low grassy mounds, 18 of them, worn down by centuries of ploughing and rabbits and rain. For generations, people walked past and thought little of it, just humps in a sheep field. The landowner, a widow named Edith Pretty, could see the largest mounds from her house. She wondered about them, and in 1938 she hired a local self-taught archaeologist to dig. His name was Basil Brown, and he had spent his whole life reading the Suffolk earth. He worked with a trowel, a coal shovel, and an astonishing patience. That first season the mounds gave up only fragments, but Edith Pretty asked him back. Basil Brown lodged in a cottage nearby and rode his bicycle out to the mounds each morning. He knew this ground the way a farmer knows a field. The mounds had stood so long that they had become part of the horizon, easy to forget. Picture the house that summer, tall windows, the light going amber across the lawn. Edith Pretty had lost her husband, and some say she was drawn to these mounds by more than simple curiosity. She pointed Basil Brown toward the biggest one of all, the great mound we now call Mound 1. In the spring of 1939, he began to cut a trench into its eastern end. The work was quiet. A wheelbarrow, a bicycle leaned against the spoil heap, tea going cold on a plank, and then, a few feet down, his trowel touched something small and hard. A rivet, a ship's iron rivet, rusted but unmistakably in place. He brushed on and found another, and then another, each one holding its position in the sand exactly where the shipwright had hammered it. The timber around them was long gone, but the ghost of the ship remained. He measured and sketched and let nothing be rushed. Every rivet was a word in a sentence he was only beginning to read. This is the moment the earth begins to speak, and Basil Brown does something extraordinary. Instead of digging the rivets out, he digs around them. He follows the curve. Slowly, over weeks, a shape rises out of the sand, long and narrow and lifting at both ends. It is a ship. Not the wood, which had rotted away to nothing, but its perfect impression. The darker sand where the planks once lay, studded with lines of iron rivets like stitches holding a shadow together. The vessel measured about 27 meters, close to 90 feet. An open rowing ship, sea-worn, big enough for dozens of oars. Someone had hauled it up the hill from the river, whole, and buried it. You do not bury a ship this size for an ordinary man. Word of the find began to spread, and soon more experienced hands were on their way to take the dig over. Rain came, and he covered the trench with hessian and waited. This was work you could not hurry without losing the whole story. See it from above now. The trench opens like a scar in the green field, and inside it lies the outline of the ship, printed into the ground as if the earth had taken a rubbing of it. Charles Phillips, an archaeologist from Cambridge, arrived and led the excavation into its most delicate phase. The dig had become a quiet race, because out in the wider world, the summer of 1939 was darkening toward war. In the middle of the ship, they found the collapsed remains of a wooden burial chamber. And in that chamber, packed close together, waited the richest grave goods ever lifted from British soil. Whoever assembled this had emptied a treasury. Yet the nearer they came to the center, to the place where a body should rest, the stranger it grew. There were belongings arranged carefully, as if around a sleeper. But the sleeper was not there. The soil had to be shaved back a hair at a time with brushes and bellows. One careless boot could have crushed 1,000 years. Volunteers came from the village to help, and the whole county began to sense that something rare was rising out of the sand. And here is the mystery that has never fully closed. In the heart of the chamber, there was no skeleton, no skull, no teeth, which usually survive when everything else has failed. For years, some argued the grave was a cenotaph, an empty monument to a king buried or lost somewhere else entirely, a tomb built for a body that was never inside it. But later, scientists tested the sand at the very center and found it unusually rich in phosphate, the chemical trace a body leaves behind when it dissolves completely away. The evidence suggests a man did lie here, and that the acidic soil simply erased him, atom by atom, until only chemistry remembered. So we have a burial fit for a god, and a god who has vanished. The treasure stayed. The person became the ground. And from here on, everything depends on the things he left behind. Think of that. A man rich enough to take a warship into the ground with him, and yet the one thing money could not keep was the man. So let's look at what he left. In the crush of the collapsed chamber lay objects of impossible craft. A great gold belt buckle, heavy in the hand, its surface a writhing knot of interlaced animals. Shoulder clasps of gold and deep red garnet, cut and fitted like stained glass, no larger than a fingernail. A sword with a jeweled hilt, drinking horns, silver bowls carried all the way from the eastern Mediterranean. And in fragments, the object that would become the face of it all, an iron helmet sheathed in tinned bronze, with a full face mask, eyebrows, a moustache, and a dragon rising to meet a bird across the crown. Reconstructed, it stares back at us across 14 centuries. It was armor. It may also have been a kind of crown. This was not a soldier's kit. This was the wardrobe of a king. Each garnet had a thin gold foil set behind it, so that even faint firelight would make the whole surface burn. Someone planned for it to glow in the dark. Nothing here was made in a hurry, and nothing here was made for the living. Among the treasures lay a small purse, and inside it, gold. 37 coins, each one struck far away in the land of the Merovingian Franks, across the sea in what is now France. No two came from the same mint. It reads almost like a collection, deliberately gathered. And those coins are the closest thing we have to a date. By studying them, historians have narrowed the burial to roughly the years around 610 to 635. That places it in the early 7th century, in the young Anglo-Saxon kingdom of East Anglia, a world only a few generations into the age we once called the Dark Ages. And the coins whisper something else too. This king traded, or fought, or bargained with powers across the whole of the known world. He was no isolated chieftain in the mud. He stood on a continental stage, a king who wanted the next world to know exactly where his gold had come from. Imagine the day of the burial itself. The reconstruction historians offer goes something like this. A ship is dragged up from the Deben, hauled on timber rollers and ropes to the crest of the hill. A chamber is built amidships and lined with the dead man's world, his weapons, his gold, his feasting gear, everything a lord could want in a hall beyond death. The body is laid down among it. Then the whole ship is covered over, heaped with basket after basket of pale sand, until a great mound rises against the sky, visible from the river far below. It was theatre. It was a statement carved into the landscape itself. Anyone sailing the estuary would see it and understand. A great one lies here, and his people were rich and proud and unafraid. We cannot hear the words that were spoken over him, but we can still stand where they once stood. Dozens of hands on the ropes, the smell of tar and turned earth, the long groan of timber over rollers. So who was he? The name whispered most often is Redwald, King of East Anglia, who died around the year 625. For a time he was among the most powerful rulers in all of Britain. He was baptized a Christian, and yet, the old accounts say, he kept a pagan altar too, hedging carefully between two worlds. And this grave sits exactly on that seam. A pagan ship burial under a heaped mound, yet with a pair of silver christening spoons tucked in among the goods. It fits him well, but fitting is not the same as proving. The British Museum today is careful. Its galleries now name him only as a king of East Anglia, leaving Redwald as the likeliest guess rather than a settled fact. Other names have been offered: a son, a rival, a co-ruler. The honest answer is the one the soil gave us. We do not know. He ruled from somewhere in these flat lands of marsh and river in the years when England was not yet a single word. Then the modern world came crashing back in. It was late August 1939. As Charles Phillips lifted the last of the treasure from the ground, the radios were full of the coming war. On the 3rd of September, Britain declared war on Germany. A coroner's inquest, held in the village hall, ruled that the treasure belonged to Edith Pretty, as the owner of the land, and she gave it, all of it, to the nation. One of the greatest gifts a museum has ever received. The gold was packed away and hidden. Some of it, the story goes, in a disused tunnel of the London Underground, safe beneath the city while bombs fell above. The ship in the ground was measured, recorded, and then quietly buried again under bracken for its own protection. And Edith Pretty, who had first wondered at the mounds from her window, did not live to see them fully understood. The estate would later pass into the care of the National Trust, and the field became a place people traveled to just to stand and wonder. Walk the site today, and you will find grass and wind and those low green mounds beneath a wide East Anglian sky. The treasure sits 100 miles away, glowing under museum light. But the man is still here and still nowhere, a phosphate shadow in the sand, a shape without a name. That is the strange gift of Sutton Hoo. We dug up the richest grave in British history and found everything except the one thing we came looking for. The king dissolved into his own kingdom, and in doing so, he told us more about his lost world than any tomb full of bones ever could. Gold survives, iron survives, the story survives. The man himself simply became the soil that keeps it. The ground remembers a person best by letting them go. You can linger here as long as you like. There is nothing left to hurry for. The grass leans, then straightens. The river answers the sea, as it always has. So the mounds keep their watch above the river, as they have for 1400 years. The tide still empties toward the sea. The pale sand still holds its quiet shadow. A king lay here, and the earth took him and kept the shape of him instead. Britain's Tutankhamun has no face and no name, only a shadow where a king once lay.